What's up, Meta Nerds? This video is about the all-terrain defense turret, also known as the AT-DT. Like all other walkers used by the Republic and the Empire, it was manufactured by Kuat Drive Yards, though the exact cost of this vehicle is unknown. At about 4 meters, or 13 feet, it was nearly half the height of an AT-ST, and about 1/9 the height of the AT-M6. Classified as mobile artillery, this main gun was much more powerful than what you would find in the AT-DP or AT-ST, though I think it's safe to say that it was probably much slower. This viewport could be closed when under heavy fire, an element that was also incorporated into the AT-ST, though it seems like its legs were engineered to have better articulation, allowing it to crouch much lower in order to absorb the shock of being dropped into the battlefield. Though this walker left the gunner exposed to attacks from the rear, Imperial commanders were taught to deploy these at the edge of their effective range, so that they could rain down fire on entrenched enemies, while being able to easily walk into new positions as battlefield conditions changed, or in order to pursue the retreating enemy. Because the range of this artillery would be greater than infantry-fired rockets and ion cannons, wise commanders would first take out enemy vehicles with either air support, anti-vehicle units, or more heavy walkers designed for assault, before setting up AT-DTs in order to level buildings and eliminate light vehicles and infantry. The problem with the Imperial efforts on Mimban was the sudden escalation of violence due to the orders from Imperial High Command. Wilhuff Tarkin demanded that all regional governors increase their output dramatically, without any real concern for the fragile peace that was barely held intact in some of these regions. Mimban was a place with deep mineral deposits, making it a site of conflict for decades before, during, and after the Clone Wars. But with this new decree by Tarkin, the Mimbanese responded with guerrilla warfare tactics that made it difficult for commanders to follow their Imperial Academy training. This, combined with the hazy and heavily ionized atmosphere, along with the thick mud terrain, the Empire was denied reliable air support and lost many of its walkers to a series of improvised mines and tripwires that the Mimbanese had perfected over the years. This whole conflict was an example of how the Empire's philosophy sometimes set unreasonable expectations for its local governors, driving them to burn through their resources before ever admitting defeat, creating situations where the AT-DTs started to be deployed at the front lines in order to secure a victory that always just seemed a few battles away. So that's it for its history, but you definitely want to know these cool facts and behind-the-scenes stuff. In the book The Art of Solo, A Star Wars Story, there are a ton of amazing details about the Mimbanese conflict, and I want to read a couple of these quotes that really stood out to me. These are all from the actual art team, and the first says that as a prolonged ground war camp, the Imperial Depot at Mimban is more like the Vietnam War than World War I, and he goes on to talk about how many of the Imperial troops there would have likely seen this as the end of the road for their military career. And then for what's called the Chicken Walker version 1A, later named the AT-DT, the artist says, "I proposed this sketch on the right where I referenced a German Flak 38 gun that I found in a book and put it on 2 legs. He goes on to say that he told the other artists, "Don't be afraid to make it mediocre looking, because out of the mediocre comes something that, to me, feels real. War machines don't always feel like the coolest, badass, designed by Ferrari thing." He later says that this simplicity is what they nailed in the original Star Wars movies, and that the head of the AT-ST is very much just a gun platform to begin with, so it really was riffing off that, and boiling it down. I think many people will definitely agree about his reasoning about how the original trilogy had a realistic, nitty-gritty look, though in the long run, we do have to worry about Star Wars being too derivative of previous Star Wars creations. Let me know what you guys think about this walker in the comments down below. But most important of all, remember, don't just make blanket demands on your Imperial governors, and the Force will be with you, always.